This video is going to go through the OST assignment for the Construction Estimating course at ASU. This is one of the most important assignments of the entire semester because this is where students are expected to learn and master OST for the purposes of this class. So if we go down, this is our ultimate goal, is to use the plans that we provided and find the scale, linear feet of interior wall, exterior wall, square foot of wall furnishes, cubic feet of insulation, square feet of carpet, square foot of ACT ceilings, and the quantity of grids for the ceiling. So I'll get into more of the details of the assignment later. The first step is to just download OST. So we do have a tutorial for this on Blackboard, but if for some reason you can't use it or you can't find it or you just want to do it all in one place, I'm going to go through it right here. So go to the On-Center Software homepage. It should look like this. Then go to Products, On-Screen Takeoff, Product Information, and Download. Then you're going to get to this page. Don't try to download the current version. Recently they've started charging for the current version for some reason, but you can download one version earlier. There's not really a difference. It will make no difference. Go to this MSI installer and click that. Then once it opens, go through the steps and download it to your computer. Once you've done that, just open it up, and that's where we're going to pick up from. So here's what OST looks like. Yours will look more like that when you open it, however. So these are OST sample projects. So these are ones that are automatically put in here by OST to show you what you can do with the drawings, to show you how to actually make conditions and things like that. We're not really going to use these. However, if you want to go through these, they're really good. You can see your different options. You can see kind of the cool tricks that you can do, things along those lines. So the first step is to activate your OST account. So right now, you should have an activation code that we provided you. So you're going to go to File, check Authorization, and right here, you're going to paste in that activation code. So it's not a license. So don't put it in as a license. Make sure you put it in as the activation code. Then you're going to hit Activate once you've done that. I've already done so, so mine shows up right here. Once you have activated it, it'll be in this box. So make sure that happens. For those of you that are using this in the College Avenue Commons computer lab or on a computer that is not your own, since you are using a computer that is not yours, you need to return the activation code when you're done. So that activation code will keep that computer active, and as long as that computer is active, you cannot use OST on any other computer with that activation code. So what you do is click on it, and it'll be blue, and then hit return. That will basically deactivate the computer and keep the activation code live. If you do not do that, and you log out of the computer and you forget which computer you were on, you have lost your license and you will not be able to activate again. So keep that in mind. That is possibly one of the most important things here. Everything else you can Google, you can't Google a new activation code. So make sure you do that. You can reactivate anytime. I'm not going to, but make sure you know how to use that. Alright, so once it's activated and once it's in this box down here, close that and you're good to go. Alright, so once you have it activated, you need to create a new database. So these two right here are your databases. So that is where you're going to actually put your projects, you're going to put your plans, and typically if you're a GC or something, you're going to have a new database for each project. So you would have one for the hospital you're working on and one for the school you're working on, and then you have individual bids within each database. So to create a new one, you go to File, New, Database, choose this one that says most users, it's just the default, and then name it. So I'm going to name it Con 383 Estimating. Doesn't really matter what you name it. Choose Imperial. Auto backup doesn't matter as much for us. That's more for GCs. That allows it to back up to a cloud or wherever you tell it to go, just in case your entire system crashes. For us, it's not that big of a deal, so we don't care. So we're just going to keep it as the default, and you're going to hit OK. That's now going to come up right here, and there's nothing under it, so we need to create a new bid. So to do that, right-click on your database, then go to New Bid. So this is how you actually get the plans in and how you actually do the takeoffs. So project name, according to our assignment right here, we're working on a patient room remodel. So that's what we're going to call this. Ours is only one drawing. It's only one sheet. It'll be pretty common that if you have a huge set or something, you're going to want to break it down into your different divisions. So this might be new hospital concrete or new hospital architectural or something like that where you have it broken down. It does make it harder to navigate once you get into it, because if you need to look at a detail or something and you didn't upload that, you then have to go to an exterior site. If you put everything into one bid, it's easier to navigate. Keep in mind, however, that if you have 500 sheets or something ridiculous like that, it is going to slow it down. Ours are typically only about 100, so we recommend that students keep it all in one bid, but that is something that is seen. So once you've named it, move down to the next one. For estimator, we don't care because we're not a huge GC. This is your own OST and your own license, so don't worry about that. Don't worry about notes, bid number, or job number. Also, the pricing typicals, bid date, bid time, none of those really matter that much for the purposes of this class. So what we're going to do now is actually load up our pages. So if you look down here, this will tell you what each button is if you hover over it. So this is insert new blank page. So right here, we have a page in here, but it doesn't actually have a drawing or anything in it. It's just blank. So you can add as many of those as you want, but they have no value. So I'm going to now delete those. So I'm going to tell it not to show me again, but it is a good idea. So now, if you go to the next one, auto add images. So that is going to take images from a folder and add them all. I don't recommend doing that because chances are yours is a PDF, not an image. This one right here is add new image page. So that's a page of an image. So that is probably what you're going to end up doing for the vast majority of the times you're on this. Or you can add a new folder. So you can add a folder within a bid. So this would be something like separating out your concrete or your architectural. So I don't want a folder, so I'm going to delete that. This one is another way to delete, and this will change the folder. So we don't want to do any of those except for this, where we're going to insert a new image. So you're going to click on that, and then you're going to find where you saved the patient room remodel. So I have it right here. And then it's going to ask if you want to have it converted to TIFF. The answer is yes. TIFF is another way of saving it. So it's like a PDF, except it's called a TIFF, and it is much more compatible with OST, and it's going to make it much easier to use. So hit yes. It'll take a second to convert, and then you're good to go. So then up here, hit OK, and it'll open it. So this box is going to pop up at the beginning. Personally, this box really annoys me. It'll prompt you a bunch of times with what it thinks you want to do. So I always choose do not show this again, and I X out. If you like that box, you can keep it. I just find it annoying. So here is the overall layout of OST. So up here, you've got your basic tabs. So this one is File, Edit, View, Tools, Image, Bid, Master, Digitizer, Training, and Help. Then, if you go down to the next row, you have new bids, new conditions, new folder, new database. So if you need to create anything new, you can go here, or typically you can just right click, which is what I generally prefer to do. This one will open up something that you have saved somewhere. This will print it. This will do a print preview. And we're going to get back to these later on, so definitely remember where these go because these are also how you're going to export to Excel. This will cut something highlighted. This will copy something you have highlighted. This will paste it, and this will duplicate it. This X is your delete. You can also typically use backspace or the delete button, but if that doesn't seem to be working, you can use this. This is undo. This is redo. Then you have a cover sheet. Every bid has a cover sheet, which is this right here, which you just filled out. You're probably not going to need to access that again unless you forgot to upload a drawing or something, but you can also do that from the Bids tab. This is if you'd like to send your project info to someone in your company or in your team, then this is what you're actually looking at. So we only have one drawing in here, so we're looking at the one drawing we have. Then we're going to go down to this next row right here. So this is your bids tab. So this is where you started out. This is where you're going to go back to your database or go to a different bid. So if you look up here, you now only have 3 options. But if you go back into your bid by double clicking, you have much more. So your image tab shows you the actual image. Pretty simple. This is your takeoff tab. So right now we have no takeoffs. We haven't found any values yet. So our takeoff tab is empty, but once you've started to put in conditions and actually have values, that's where they're all going to show up. The next one is your worksheet tab. Again, we have no values, but once they're in there, they'll start to populate and you'll have a full worksheet. Project Express, we don't typically use because it doesn't provide enough value to make it worth setting up. So we do encourage teams to use it if they feel compelled. However, we don't typically. Project Express is used to send bids to and from each other, and it makes it easier. Usually we just export, download, and re-upload. We're then going to go to My On Center, which is not something we're going to use for this class. It's actually something that's new. I've never used it or Project Express, but I've heard they're helpful if you're actually at a full GC. So the main place you're going to be is this image tab. So we're going to go back here, and now we're going to look at this next row that's here. So this is your back and forward. This is going to list all of your pages. So if you have a bunch of them in here, it'll all be listed so you can jump really easily. Another good thing to remember that ends up being very helpful later on is that when you have a condition on here, this little page will turn blue. So it's very easy that way if you have 100 pages to find which page you're looking for, because you might have one detail page that has one takeoff on it, and that way you can find it really easily. So then if we just keep going, this is your mouse. This is going to be a crosshair, so that is when you are trying to do takeoffs. That's the button you're going to click. Or you can just click the takeoff, which will show up over here. This one magnifies a box that you draw. This one shows you the whole page. This one allows you to magnify without actually moving the page. So if you just need to see something real quick, it works like a magnifying glass. This is your pan tool, so this is how you can move around. If you have zoomed in or something, that'll let you actually move. This one will not. You just kind of draw weird boxes. So if you want to actually move, that's what you'd use. This is your measuring tool. So if you want to measure something, keep in mind we don't have a scale set yet, so we're going to get to that in a minute. This is how you type if you'd like to add a text box or something. This is a highlighting tool so that you can highlight things. Call out, so if you want to do an RFI or something of the sort, you're going to do that. Then you can say RFI. Here's an arrow if you want to just point to something like, oh look, it's a chair. There you go, you have an arrow. Here's a line for, I don't know, if you ever need a line. Square, circle. This one shows a hexagon, but it's actually just any polygon of any shape that you want, so you can just go around, and then to end it, you double click. So then this one will get you a cloud, so you go around whatever you want to do. So let's say we want to do an RFI over this very weirdly shaped room. Double click, and it becomes an RFI. This one just lets you draw, so you can do squiggles. And that's all the shapes. So I'm now going to delete all of those, which I'm just doing by Control Z, which is undo. This one is if you want to put a link somewhere and link it to something else. This is so that you can create a view and then name it something. These are all of your zoom options. So there's full page, zoom in, zoom out. This one goes to 100% zoom, just with wherever you are. And this one is a custom zoom, so it goes to whatever you have set as your custom. Let's say you're really zoomed in and you have no idea where you are. So if I go really far and I keep going down and I can't figure out anything and it's just all confusing, right here is your pan window. So that little black box right there is showing you what you're looking at. So if I zoom out, that black box shows me where I am. So the more I zoom in, the more it does also. Another good way to zoom in, which is what I do, is to hold Control and then use the scrolling wheel on your mouse. And that's how you're going to zoom. So right now, I'm still on this named view box. You can tell by the little square by my cursor. So if I try to click, it's going to do that. So to get out of it, just click out, and I'm going to choose pan so I can do this. Alright, so we're going to keep going with what all of these little things mean. So this whole side is just takeoff tools. So that's a polygon, that's a backout, which we're going to get to later. That's a grid if you want to align it to something. That's an auto count if you want to select something. Say you select a chair, it'll count the number of chairs for you. These are all rotation options if you need to rotate your takeoff. These are all rotations if you need to rotate the page. This will overlay, so let's say you just got a new set of drawings and some things change. You can overlay the two sets and it will show you the differences. This one resizes your overlay, align, deskew, so these are all overlay options. Over here you have conditions window, which is right over there. You see on the left how it's changing. This is your pan window, so it's going and coming back. This is your layers window, and this is your view window. So the view window is especially helpful if you're doing something like a concrete takeoff and you want to be able to see the footing details while on the foundations page. So you can open up the details page over here and then drag this over to your other screen, which you can't see if I do that, but that way you can have two different things up at once, so you don't have to be like, okay, here's the foundation, wait, what was it again, and then go back and forth. You can just have them both up at once. So then this last one is the image legend, so we don't have a legend, so nothing's going to happen. Alright, so now we're going to get into the actual takeoff portion. So I'm going to close this layers window, because I prefer to have just these open. You can also move this however much you want. You can just delete this one, you can have this very small. You can choose it to be a lot of different things, it's all up to you. But this is generally how I keep it. So if we go back here, our first thing is to calculate the scale given the plans. So in order to do that, you need to find something that is a clear dimension and typically isn't something like 180 feet. You want something a bit easier. I generally use this 16 right here. So zoom in on it as much as you can because it's going to make you more precise. Then you're going to go up here to edit, calculate scale, you're going to do architectural, and then you're going to enter the length. So this is 16 feet. So you can do 1/6 and the little foot mark, or you can do 1600. So in OST, the last two numbers of anything you enter is taken as inches. So if you just put in 16, that is 16 inches. So you do 1600. So if it were 16 foot 5 inches, you do 1605. So make sure you have that right, otherwise you're going to be very far off. So now, what you're going to do is measure this. What a lot of people do is then hit OK and then measure it. That's not going to work. You're just going to get really frustrated. So you need to enter the dimensions, then before clicking out, measure this. So you're going to get it to the middle points, and then you're going to let go, and then it'll calculate the scale for you. If you have multiple pages, you can choose to apply to all. I'm not going to choose that because I only have one page. Then you hit OK, and you now have your scale set. In order to confirm your scale is set, use the measuring tool and measure what you just set. Make sure that it's right, and then usually what I do is measure one more thing just to be sure, and that's 12.9, and it is. Alright, so that was our first task, was to set the scale. You can also see the scale at any point right here. 1 inch is 21 feet. So that was our first one. So now we're going to move to the linear feet of interior wall. So in order to do that, we're going to create our first condition. So you're going to go down here to this little blue plus sign which says new condition, and you're going to click that. So we are looking for linear feet of interior wall. So this is a linear condition. The other options are area, count, attachment, or group. So area would be something like your square foot of carpet, square foot of concrete. Count would be something like the number of sinks. Attachment would be number of doors or windows because they are attaching to a wall. And then a group is if you want to do a grouping of a typical wall or something of the sort. We very rarely use that one. So you're going to choose linear for linear feet of interior walls, and then you're going to name it interior walls. So go over here to your type, and these are whatever you want to do them, however you like to categorize them. I'm going to say this is a wall. You're going to hit enter, and it was not found, so would you like to add it? Choose yes. So right here you're going to have all of the different types listed. We only have one so far. So you choose that, hit select, and it's a wall. Your layers are very helpful because when you get your ACT grid, interior walls, your carpet, and all of your doors, it gets very confusing. So your layers allow you to hide certain conditions. So layer, I'm going to put this as interior wall. Interior wall was not found. Would you like to add it? Yes. So now you have these as your layers. So hit select and then keep going. So condition number is going to be condition 1 because it's the first one you've made. Your height. Your height of your wall was given in this problem statement. So floor to floor is 15 feet, wall height is 9 feet. So your interior walls are going to be 9 feet, so that's 900. And thickness we're going to leave right now, but you are going to measure that later. Your slope is used for sheathing on a roof or something along those lines. We don't have a slope, so that's going to stay how it is. Color is however you would like to organize it. I'm going to make my interior walls salmon. Hit OK. And you can choose what pattern you'd like. So none will still count the work you're doing. However, it will not show up because you basically told it to be invisible. If it's solid, it'll completely obscure what's under it. Transparent basically works as a highlighter. So that's what we're going to do. You can choose these later. You can mess around with them. Generally, you're going to keep it as transparent. So then you get down to your actual results. So you can have up to 3 quantities at a time. So for linear feet of interior wall, we have length in linear feet. You can also choose linear yards or inches. There are a lot of different options that you can choose. However, for now, we're going to just stick with length. Any notes if you'd like to? We don't have any, so we're going to hit OK. So here's your quick start creating linear takeoff guide. If you'd like, you can go through these and they show you training videos. I've already seen them and I don't like the pop-up because it starts to bother me. So I'm going to choose do not show again and hit OK. So if you look at my mouse right now, it is the crosshairs. So that means that I am about to do a takeoff. So I'm going to go to my interior walls and I'm just going to click and drag. And that's it. Then you let go. Then you click and you drag. And then you scroll over. And a good trick for scrolling left and right is to hold shift and then use the wheel on your mouse and you'll shift from left to right. I'm going to click, drag, release. Click, drag, release. Oh, I went through a door. That's not what I wanted to do. So I can go to select and I can grab this part right here and I can now move it. So now I'm in my select mode. I can't do a takeoff. So you need to click on this again. Just click it once. If you double click, you get back to this page, which you can edit at any time, by the way. So you can go back and decide later that you want a segment count for the number of interior walls if you'd like to. But right now we just want length, so I'm just going to exit that again. A single click gets you back into takeoff mode, so then you can just click and drag. Click and drag. You can also delete with the delete button. One of the most important things, debatably, if you click this and delete it, that's fine. There's also Control Z. If you go over here and delete this, it cannot be undone and it will delete every interior wall condition you have for the entire set of plans. Make sure you don't do that. So, do I want to delete this? No, I do not. Alright, so now I'm going to keep going. And you're just going to go through the whole page. You're going to find all the walls. Obviously, there's a lot more walls than I'm actually going through doing right now. But that is how you do your interior walls. The next thing that we're going to do is our linear feet of exterior wall. So it's going to be almost the exact same. So we need a new condition. It's linear, and it's going to be exterior walls. My type is walls. I'm going to keep that as very generic, and my layer will be more specific for exterior walls. I'm going to create it because it wasn't there before, and I now have 2 different layers in addition to the defaults. So now my height, I'm going to go here, floor to floor height of 15 feet. So my exterior walls are 15 feet. Thickness, again, I don't have right now, but I'm going to get there. My color, I'm going to choose something similar because it's still a wall, so I'm going to choose this red right here. And I'm going to hit OK, and I want length in linear feet. Hit OK. I'm going to zoom out, and now I'm going to get my exterior wall. So you're going to go all the way here, then you're going to go down, across, and up, and here. Then you're going to go here, here, and I'm going to cut across this because in our problem we said everything north of the 28-foot wall in that corridor is excluded. So basically we didn't want students to worry about this odd triangle. So this patient room remodel is an existing hospital, so this is a walkway to another building. So we're not worried about that. We're just doing this patient room area. So when you get over here, this can get a little bit tedious, but you can just go like this. It starts to be pretty fast. Keep in mind you don't need to be 100% accurate. It is an estimate. You do want to be fairly accurate though. So right there, I'm not exactly on it. That's probably going to add less than 1 linear foot of wall. So if I were doing these takeoffs for a 15-story building or something like that where they all follow the same outline, I would be much more accurate on this. However, since it's just one, I'm not nearly as worried. So I'm just going to keep going down, and you're going to get the entirety of the exterior wall. So I assume you can do the rest of that. Don't forget this side also. So now we're going to go back here and see what our next one is. So we want our square foot of wall finishes. There is paint on the inside, panels on the outside. So while that may seem hard to do, you've already done it and you just don't realize. So I'm going to quickly add some more very brief interior walls just so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's say all of these are our walls. Alright, so now that we actually have a value here, you don't need to go through and do the takeoffs again. So go to interior wall, and then for quantity 2, choose surface area. So our interior walls, we're going to want the surface area of both sides because you have paint on both sides. So hit OK, and it already does it all for you. So you've already done the takeoffs and you just didn't even realize it. So we got that, and now we need panels on the exterior. So same thing, exterior walls, and you need the surface area single side because your panels are only on the outside of the building. So keep in mind with this, however, that somewhere like right here, that's an exterior wall. So this side has panels, but this side has paint. So in your Excel sheet that you're going to ultimately have, you will need to add this 11,000 square feet to your square footage of paint because you need to account for paint on the inside of the building. So once you've done that, you have your finishes, and now we're going to move on. You now need your cubic feet of insulation required. Assume thickness is equal to wall thickness. So right now, we don't know what our wall thickness is. So I'm going to zoom in really close to this wall right here, and I am just going to measure it. I'm going to go from there to there, and it is a 6-inch wall. So now I'm going to go back to my interior walls, and I'm going to change the thickness to 6 inches. Then, quantity 3, I'm going to choose volume in cubic feet, and it will automatically populate my cubic footage of insulation. When we go back to our assignment, the next step is to find the square footage of carpet required. So in order to do that, we're going to go back here, and we're going to create a new condition. This is going to be an area condition, and we're going to call it carpet. Then we're going to go to type, and we're going to call this flooring. Again, you want your type a bit more generalized, but your layer very specific. So we're going to add that, and then we're going to go to layer as carpet. You can tell that it's getting a little bit repetitive now, so that is how takeoffs actually are. Once you know how to do them, they're very simple because it is the same process over and over again. So you're going to hit select, and you're going to keep going. So keep in mind there's no height now because you're doing an area. So thickness doesn't matter because we're only worried about square footages. There is no slope. Color, we're going to stick with blue, but I want it to be a little bit lighter blue. So I'm going to hit OK, because that's more of a periwinkle. Then area, square foot. OK. Do not show this again, or you can watch that. It's up to you. And I'm going to hit OK. So there are 2 ways to do the carpet. So our carpet is in offices, patient rooms, and corridors. So it is not included in these bathrooms, and it is not going to be included in the elevator lobby or this stairwell. So two options. One is to go through and go to each patient room and do a takeoff. So there's one room, there's another room, there's another room, and to go through all of these, and where there is, you're going to do it. So your corridors have carpet, so then there, and there, and you're going to keep going around. Another option, which students generally prefer because it's much less monotonous, is to take an area of the entirety of this site. So if you click and hold and drag, you're going to get something that's a square. So these are your options. If you click once, you can make it a shape. Then, to finish, you double click. So now you have a shape. So I'm going to delete that. But it's good to know because this way you can go across the entirety of your building. And I am not going to go through each of those divots, so I'm just going to keep going down. So then you're going to go around and click all of these areas. Again, I'm going to skip the divots. And I'm going to go here. So that is my whole shape, so I'm going to double click. And I now have my carpet. In order to now back out these areas that don't have carpet, such as your elevators and your restrooms, you're going to use this little yellow back out mode up here. So something that a lot of students get confused about is they'll go to do the backouts and it just doesn't work. You can click on it, it doesn't do anything. So in order to back out, you have to first tell it what you're backing out of. So it has to be an area and it has to be selected. So I'm going to click on my carpet and now you see it's yellow. So now I can back out. So I can zoom in and there's a stairway right there. So that does not have carpet. So I'm going to draw a box and it will back it out. So if you watch over here, I have 24,237. So now I'm going to get rid of this. And now I have 24,199. So you're going to go through, delete those two bathrooms, delete those two bathrooms, delete those two bathrooms, and keep going along those lines. Make sure you got all the areas, and then you have your carpets. So now we're going to go back to here, and we're going to see what's next. So square foot of ACT ceilings. Assume all ceiling is ACT. So ACT is your acoustical ceiling tile, and it's very common, probably the most common ceiling. So we're going to do that. I'm going to create a new condition. It'll be an area, and I'm going to do ACT ceiling. Your type will be the ceiling. I'm going to create it. Then layer is my ACT. Hopefully you're seeing the pattern here. Thickness, doesn't matter. Slope, there is none. Your color, I'm going to choose this to be green. I'm going to hit OK. So the difference here is that I am not just interested in my square foot of ACT ceilings. I also want the quantity of 2 foot by 4 foot grids. So in order to do that, you're going to go to this Advanced tab and you're going to choose Grid. Your tile is 2 feet by 4 feet, so I'm doing 200 by 400, and there is no gap. Display pattern while drawing, we're going to say yes. You'll see what that is in a second. So now we're going to go back to General, and we have our area in square footages, and we also want to add a tile count. So we're going to do the visible tile count of each. So now we're going to go back here, and you're going to be able to draw it. So for your ACT ceiling, it's going to want you to just do squares. So you're going to go through, and you're going to draw it, and you're going to overlay it. So see how it looks like those little tiny tiles? Those are actually your 2 foot by 4 foot tiles. So now you're going to make sure that you got the rest of it. So you're going to do right there and right there. Now you have all of it. So here's where your layers come into play. This is very hard to see. Yours will be even worse because I don't even have most of my interior walls in here. So I'm going to pull up the Layers tab, and I just did that by hitting Control L. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just so I can actually see what I'm working with. And I'm going to hide my carpet. So just that right there exponentially increases the visibility to not have to worry about it. And the ACT grid is very distracting, so I'm going to hide that too. So now I can go through and I can actually see what I'm working with. And you can add them back at any time. You can have all of them, or you could get rid of everything if you want to. So that's a good way to do it. So now we're going to go back here and we're going to see what else we have. And that is technically all of it for this assignment. However, I'm going to keep going. There are things for OST that you're going to need to learn in order to do your project, and they are things we did use to require for this assignment. The first of which is going to be your doors. So in order to do my doors, I'm going to hide my ACT and my carpet. So then we're going to go over here and we're going to add a new condition. Oh, so this is something that even I get confused on. So a lot of students will add this and they're like, well, it's not adding a condition, it's not working. So you are in your layers tab right here. So right here is your new condition. So you're going to do an attachment for your doors, and we're going to call this right-handed doors. Type, we're going to do doors, and then layer, we're going to do doors as well. Those ones don't need to be extremely specific. However, you could, if you want to, call it a single door, right-handed door. There's a lot of different ways. The height of the door is not specified, but a standard door is 7 foot by 3 foot. So we're going to assume that this door is standard and we're going to do 7 foot. Our width will be 3 foot. Then we're going to move on. Our color, I'm going to make all of my doors purple. I'm going to hit OK. And then count is going to be each. So here, this shape is something that's new for an attachment. So your shape, you're going to choose what you want. So I chose right-handed door, so I'm going to choose right-handed door. I'm going to hit OK. So what is unique about an attachment is that it has to attach to something. So you can have a wall in the middle of nowhere, completely freestanding, and that's fine. You just have a partition wall or something. However, you can't really just have a door. That defeats the purpose of a door. So doors attach to lines because they attach to walls. So if I try to click right here, I can't add a door because I'm not adding it to a wall. Right here is my actual wall. Granted, mine is completely skewed because I just drew lines. So let's say I first want to go through and I want to fix my interior wall. So right here I'm going to choose this and I'm going to get that a bit more lined up just for the sake of this. So keep in mind, again, you can move any of your conditions later on. That's why you shouldn't take too much time to be exactly precise. So I'm going to go back to my right-handed door, and I'm going to click that once, and I'm going to attach it. So right there, you just click on it, and it's attached. That one is left-handed, this one is right-handed, so I'm going to attach it. I'm going to keep going across. I'm going to attach it there, and I'm going to attach it there. And what's really unique about this is look at your interior walls. Do you see your linear footage there? So that is 996 linear feet of wall. So if I add a door, that doesn't change. But look at the square footage, 17,714. 17,672. So that is changing because your wall is 9 feet and your door is 7 feet. So there is still 2 feet of wall above your door, which is why this linear footage doesn't change because you still have that linear foot of wall. However, your door is 7 foot by 3 foot. So right now, you are removing square footage from that wall. So your square footage will be reduced when you add these. So I'm going to delete those because that's not where my door is. And you start to realize, or hopefully you've already realized, this door is not the right size. These are not 7 foot by 3 foot doors. They look bigger. So we're going to make these a 4 foot door. Hit OK. And now that looks about right. Again, they're not exact. That's probably okay. If you're doing this for a job, you're going to want to be a little bit cleaner than I am. But for the purposes of this class, or for just a rough estimate, it's okay to have them a little off. So you're going to go through and do this for all of your doors. Alright, so once you got all your right-handed doors, you're going to create a new condition. And you're going to make an attachment. And you're going to go left-handed door. Your type is doors. And your layer is doors. Your height, you know, is 7 foot. And your width, you know now that it's 4 feet. So I'm going to keep all of my doors roughly the same. I'm going to change the shade a little bit though. I'm going to hit OK. Shape is now left-handed door, and my count is still a count. So I'm going to go through now, and I'm going to do these ones. So I'm going to go door, I'm going to go door, I'm going to go door. And now that didn't work for some reason, so I'm going to go back here and see what's wrong. So it didn't keep my width, so I'm just going to enter it again and make sure it actually stays this time, which it now has. Now I'm going to hit OK, and now it's fixed itself. Now you're going to go through all of your plans and do your right-handed doors. Next, we're going to do these little double doors. So this is a hospital. So right here, you have an optional double door if they need to fit a bed through. So those are very small, so they need to be their own condition because they're a different size. You can't have one condition be two sizes. So that's an attachment, and that's going to be, I'm going to call it right-handed side door. I'm going to do type doors, and layer, I'm going to do side door because these are not the main ones. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to keep going. So my side doors I'll make a little bit different, and I'll make them this darker purple. Hit OK. Pattern transparent. Shape is going to be right-handed door. However, right here, your width will still be 7 feet, but let's say this is a 1-foot door. We don't know yet. You could measure it, or you could just guess and check. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to attach it. So that is not the right size, nor is it the right dimension. So I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to go right here. And I'm just going to measure it instead of trying to guess what it is. So I'm going to measure from one side to the other. And you find that it's roughly 2 feet. So that's going to be a 2-foot door. So then I'm going to go back and select this right here. I'm going to go to this right-handed side door. I'm going to make it 2 feet. Make sure that stays. Hit OK. And now that looks a lot better. So now you're going to go through and you're going to choose your right-handed side doors. And you're going to add all of those in. You're going to go here, and then you're going to go this way, and you're going to go right there. Then you're going to do the same for your left-handed side doors. Go to attachment, left-handed side door. Oops. Then you're going to go type. It's going to be doors. Layer is going to be side doors. Height, 7 foot. Width, 2 feet. Shape is going to be your left-handed door. Your color is going to be this same purple right here. And then you're going to have a count, and you're going to hit OK. And you're going to do the same thing. So it's giving me an error because I'm not actually on the line right now. So I'm zooming in. Oh, that's interesting. The reason it was giving me the error is because I didn't have enough space. It would have intersected with this door. For some reason, it did not keep the width of the door, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell it to go to 2 feet. And I'm going to make sure that stayed, and now it looks right. So now I can go to this select tool, and I can move this over if I need to. There we go. So you can move it. So as you can tell, even I have a little bit of trouble sometimes. You have to be patient with OST. Once you use it on a daily basis, it is much easier to use. But sometimes you just need to slow down and see what is causing your errors. So I'm going to choose this again, and I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to keep going now, and I'm going to choose all of my left-handed side doors. So once you have all of your doors, you're going to move on to the next thing. The next thing I'm going to show you is windows because they're very similar. So I'm going to create a new condition. I'm going to have an attachment, and I'm going to call it window A. Typically, you're going to have more than one window in a facility, so they're going to be broken down usually by window type A, B, C, D, etc. So I'm going to say this is window A. My type will be Windows, and this, I'm going to add it, and then layer is window A. Color, I'll keep as blue for this one. Let's say that my height for window A is 3 foot by, oh, make sure you're doing that. Right? So you got 300 by 300. And that's a 3 foot by 3 foot window. And my shape, I'm going to choose this window 1. So I'm going to hit OK. And again, this is an attachment, so it has to attach to something. So a good example is over here. These are actually all windows. So you're going to choose one right there, choose one right there, one right there, and one right there. So you're going to keep doing that for all of your windows. Over here on this side, it's the same thing. So you're going to add your windows. So now that we actually have our takeoffs, or at least some of them, we're going to go to this takeoff tab and look at it again now that we have values. So if you see, you have everything that you've done. So this is helpful because you will probably have more than one page. So if you have interior wall on 8 different pages and doors on 10 different pages and different sizes, this worksheet tab will compile them all. So this carpet would be throughout all 10 levels of your building or something along those lines. It's not on a per sheet basis, even though you can always see things on a per sheet basis if you go to the image tab over here. Your worksheet tab looks very similar, however it has your quantity, unit of measurement, and then you can enter material, labor, and sub prices in order to actually get the monetary value of that item. So then we're going to go back to this image and let's say that we're done. So we've done everything we wanted to do. So we're going to now export it. So we ask that you export it as an Excel file as well as a bid package. So we're going to first do our bid package. So you're going to go to File, Export, Bid Package. So something that a lot of students mess up is they go to File, Export, Takeoff File. So the Takeoff file will just have the takeoffs that are on this tab. So it doesn't really tell you that much. If you go to File, Export, Bid Package, it will keep the images, it will keep the takeoffs, it will keep the quantities, it keeps everything. So you hit Create, and then you save it wherever you'd like. Once you have it saved, you can send it, you can upload it to a Google Drive, you can do anything you'd like. So in order to export it as an Excel file, go to your Takeoff tab, and then go to Print Preview. It's a little bit unorthodox, but you're going to end up with this right here. So then you're going to go to this little envelope, which is Export Report, and you're going to choose to send it to Excel. So you're going to go down till you find MS Excel. You're going to hit OK. You want the whole report, all pages. Then you're going to hit OK and you save it. Then go in and just resave it as the newer version of Excel. For some reason, it can only do the 97 to 2000. So you're going to hit save, and again, you can send it. Something that's good to know when you're looking at opening different bids, say you are working in a team and someone did the concrete portion and you want to look at their work. So if you go to bids, you go to File, Open, you can open that bid. However, if you are on a drive or something and you just hit Open, it is going to default to whatever database you last had selected. So if I have this one selected, that's where my bid's going to open. If I have this one selected, that's where it's going to open. You have to select it before you actually open it. That's very good to know for organizing. I did not know that when I started out. So if you actually look at mine, this is not my personal computer. It is absolutely chaotic because I didn't know you couldn't delete databases or move bids within databases when I started out. So I would open up student and instructor OST files and they were all over the place. So another thing is that if someone talks about OST file versus OSP file, that is your takeoff file versus your bid package file. So OST is for takeoff, OSP is for package. So you almost always want to export to a .osp. So now, once you've done that, you have all of the basic knowledge needed in order to use on-screen takeoff. Another really good idea is to utilize the on-screen takeoff tutorial videos. So if you go back to this downloading page right here, you go to On Center Home, and you go to Products, On-Screen Takeoff, there are product training videos. So these videos are broken down very nicely and they're very good 5-minute videos usually that teach you how to do something. So this is having your bids, image, takeoff, and worksheet tabs. So those are the 4 tabs I went through. Creating a database, setting up your tools, creating a bid. This is if you want to do change orders. We don't even touch on that in this class. Adding images, making your different conditions, actually doing the takeoffs, then doing your area and typical takeoff, layers, importing, exporting, Project Express, pricing, and printing. So these are very helpful videos. A lot of students don't know they're here, but this is how I learned on-screen takeoff. And you just mess around. So a good idea is before you actually get into your project, open one of these up, put in a random image, and just start doing takeoffs and see what you can do. I don't go through it, but you can do an intelligent count if you'd like to. So you can actually select this area that shows a chair, and it will search the entire document for anything that resembles a chair. You can also search it if you're looking for a certain room. You can do it based on your toilets if you need to know the number of toilets you have. There are so many things you can do with it that there's no way I could possibly go through all of them. But go through and see what you can find out. So that is the OST tutorial for the construction estimating course at ASU.